Casey's Audio Vault.
Duff McKagan.
April 18th, 2011.
Hey, Casey, it's Duff.
Hi, Duff. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well.
Awesome.
I'm glad you could phone us after our phones went down last week.
Yeah. Are we good today?
We are good today. Yeah, we're rolling as we speak.
Okay, good.
So where are you? Where are we catching you today?
I'm in Westwood, California.
Are you on the road? Is that where you live, or what's going on?
No, this is Los Angeles. I'm actually having some meetings today. My record comes out tomorrow. I'm psyched. And, just get ready to play a record release at the Viper Room. And then we're playing the Golden God Awards on Wednesday night. And going home to Seattle and playing the record release up there on Saturday.
Duff McKagan's Loaded, a new album out tomorrow. Isn't that name kind of outdated now that you've cleaned up your act a little bit?
You know, it was supposed to be a little kind of a cheeky thing. I came up with this band name like 2 or 3 years after I'd gotten sober. So it was supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek, I'm not loaded. But, it's kind of, I've been sober now for about, 17 years. So, it fits, loaded.
Well, twofold, we have you on the phone. Number one, the new album's out tomorrow. Number two, you've been announced to be playing MTS Rock on the Range August 20th at the Stadium. We're very excited to have you come through Winnipeg.
This will be Loaded's first time ever playing in Canada in our 10-year history. And we're a Seattle band. You would think we would at least gone up to Vancouver from Seattle, but we're pretty excited about coming up and playing up there.
The album, is it like a collaboration with the other guys, or are you the boss?
I'm always the boss, whatever band I'm in. No, it's definitely, this is a band. This is actually our third record. We wrote this record on tour for our last record, which was called Sick. We toured all of 2009 and 2010 and wrote a bunch of sort of angry riffs, the things you will do out in the road, and you're just with fellas. And there's a lot of testosterone, a lot of caffeine, a lot of adrenaline. And I live in a house with a wife and 2 daughters, and it's all pink and fluffy all the time. And it's kind of nice to have a side, meaning the band Loaded, that I can get kind of all the dark and angry stuff out. And here it is, this new record is taking.
I was going to ask why you do it, because you have so many things on the go, but I guess it's kind of a break from being father, husband. You're writing columns in newspapers and magazines. You're appearing on TV, getting into radio, wealth management. It seems like you're being pulled in several directions at once.
Yeah, but music is my first priority always. I can write columns. I can write them on the road. Loaded is my only band. There is no Velvet Revolver right now, and a lot of people think I have this as a side project or I have other music going on, but I just don't. This is it. This is my band, and music's the thing that kept me above ground, really. I mean, it's the thing that saved my life back in '94, and without music, I don't think I would have much to. I don't think I'd be a good husband. I don't think I'd be a good father, or able to write the columns I write, and all the rest.
You must be a little tired of hearing some of the same questions over and over again, but you mentioned Velvet Revolver, and I see that you're playing Golden God Awards on Wednesday. Corey Taylor's going to join you on stage. Despite there's conflicting reports, your fans are thinking that he's going to be the next singer for Velvet Revolver. Yeah,
and I guess I should probably used to this question now that Corey's going to appear with my band on TV. But you're the first to ask it. Corey is not the singer for Velvet Revolver. Flash is out touring right now, and I'm about to go out on tour. We played with some guys. We played with Corey, and it was awesome. But we're nowhere near like even getting started back up again. So to even announce a singer right now, there's no rush to announce anything. My opinion on Corey is he's one of the best front men out there in a long time, certainly, and probably for that generation, which is 7 years younger than me. He's top guy, and and he's a great guy.
Well, and you've got Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols on stage with you too.
Naturally, man. Anytime I'm within a 5-mile radius of Steve Jones' house, I'll try to play with him.
Do the punk bands from when you were a teenager, they still have a place in your music collection? You dig those out often? I certainly don't live in the past. I went to this really great, the opening of the Nirvana installation, I guess, at the Experience Music Project, the museum up in Seattle. And it was Friday. And in the Nirvana exhibition, they had all of these punk rock flyers from like 78 through 85, Northwest gigs. And I was either at every one of the gigs, or I certainly played like 3/4 of the gigs, the flyers that were on the wall. And it really made me nostalgic for the first time in a long time for those days. But I certainly don't sit there and still listen to just punk rock or just 90s music or 70s music. I have my iPod's always on shuffle all, so I get what I get. Did they have any pictures of you back at drumming for the Fastbacks? Any really young Duff photos at the Experience Music?
They do. Yes, they do. They have that picture of me 14 years old playing drums for the Fastbacks.
Back then, what did you want to do? Did you just want to be a drummer in a punk band? What were your aspirations?
Well, I wasn't a drummer first. I was a guitar player first. When you're 15 years old, and I grew up in a house where there was a drum kit, there was a guitar, there was a bass. So I just kind of picked up all of them at the same time. And most of my teenage years, I played in 3 different bands at one time. I played drums in one and played guitar in another and bass in another. So I had I didn't know what I wanted to be, a drummer, a guitar player, a bass player. I didn't have to choose, and I didn't really choose until I moved down to L.A. and I was, the first band was formed was Guns N' Roses, and there I was, and I suddenly realized, I guess I'm a bass player.
Was that first meeting with the guys kind of weird? Because it's almost like you were from two different worlds.
We weren't then. No. I met Slash first. Maybe Slash and I were kind of from 2 different worlds. I played in punk rock bands, but I didn't just listen to punk rock. He played in this band, Road Crew, kind of not a metal band, but a hard rock band for sure. But he didn't just listen to hard rock, and we recognized instantly a musical kindred, And I met Izzy a couple weeks later. Izzy moved in across the street from me, and Izzy was a punk rock guy from Indiana, so there wasn't a real. He and I probably had most in common look-wise, and playing punk rock clubs that kind of passed. Axel was in the Ramones and Cheap Trick and Nazareth and Johnny Thunders, and I think all of us that was 1984. So there was a real convergence of punk, quote unquote, and metal, and we were sort of at the front of that convergence.
It's almost like it was just the perfect recipe for what you guys became.
Everybody then in 1984 knew something new was going to happen. And I think if you were 19 or 20 years old, like we were, we knew that we were going to be the ones that were going to be, at the front end of whatever that new thing was going to be. Nobody knew what it was going to be. Guns N' Roses was a kind of a perfect hybrid of punk and 70s rock and sort of some metal, like early Judas Priest, maybe. Definitely, Motorhead was the perfect mix of punk and metal. We borrowed from a lot of different people, but we kept it uniquely our own sort of thing.
Have you been thinking about these old times lately? You have a book in the works, right?
I wrote a book. Yeah, it's not coming out until October. So I wrote a book. I guess probably this past year, I've thought about my part in my past the most I have in a long time, ever. And writing, you write, you sit alone when you write. You don't write with somebody else. And I was in my head a lot, writing about a lot of this stuff and all of this stuff. Some of the darker moments that I took myself back through kind of stunned me a bit. I didn't know if I'd recollect some of the things that I actually ended up recalling and writing about. It was definitely interesting. My wife could tell that I was going into some dark place. She kept checking, "Are you okay?" But writing's a thing you do. It's such a uniquely alone thing to do, and the writing process, and then when the book or the column or whatever comes out, it's all yours. You don't have anybody to. A band, you got other guys you can kind of, well, it's us. We've fallen together or we've risen above it together. Writing's the first solo sport sort of thing I've done.
Are you hard on yourself? Do you write a paragraph and then spend an hour going over it?
I'll write 1,000 words, yes, and then I'll go over it. Yeah, for sure. I read some really, the stuff I read every night, and the authors that I read are, Cormac McCarthy and Upton Sinclair, and great writers, and Ernest Hemingway, and I'm not professing to be anything close to any of those guys, but that's my benchmark, And so if my last 1,000 words wasn't as good as something I read that night by Cormac McCarthy, then I'll think I suck, So I'll try to make it better the next day.
Are you feeling pretty happy these days? Because it just seems to me that you've gone through so much and you've got so many things going. You're healthy. It seems like you're on the top of the world.
Well, thanks for saying that. I'm relatively happy most of the time, and my wife and kids are healthy and happy, and that's even more important. And life's good, man. My record's coming out, and I'm so pleased with how it came out, and Terry Date produced it, and it just kicks ass, and we're already getting a lot of great feedback on it, and just happy to have my band and happy to come up there and play a gig. We actually play a few gigs up in Canada once we're up there, but it's going to sort of circle around that Rock on the Range gig.
What do your daughters listen to? What kind of music?
Well, okay, so they're 10 and 13, a lot of kind of new, like hipster music, but also my 13-year-old is a 13-year-old, so she loves Justin Bieber, and I've seen the Bieber, and but yeah, your typical kid stuff. They respect what I do, but they're not the biggest fans of it. They think it's a little vulgar, little heavy, and they're probably right, but they respect what I do is sort of the real deal.
Well, we're very happy you're finally bringing Loaded to Canada, and I was looking at some old YouTube clips, and I think it was the Decades of Rock back in 2006 that you jumped on stage with Alice in Chains. Any chance Winnipeg is going to see that?
That could happen. Jerry and Sean are two of my best friends, so yeah, they can't play that song about the rooster with me being too close without me jumping up.
I hope you'll be at stage left just waiting for the rooster.
Cool. All right, man.
Duff, thank you so much for the phone call, and we're going to see you August 20th, Canadian Stadium for MTS, Rock on the Range, and the new album from Duff McKagan's Loaded out tomorrow. Thanks so much, Duff.
All right, Winnipeg. We'll be there. See ya.
All the interviews you want on iTunes and at Power97.com. Casey's Audio Vault.
Casey Norman is Power 97's music director and can be heard every weekday from 2 till 6 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Power 97 is Winnipeg's best rock.